Today, you guys, I'm not gonna be making anything. I'll be answering the second most popular question after the what paints do I use, and the question is what blades do I use. So we go. Before we start, I want to give a shout out to Manny because he just sent me a couple photos of his first project that he's ever done with the jigsaw. So I wanted to show a couple of pictures here, and hopefully you guys can start sending me stuff. I've showed Brian, Bold Boy, so now it's Manny's, and so little by little we're gonna start building our little jigsaw nation. I'm starting to get more and more requests for stuff, so it's pretty cool. It's moving forward. But anyways, let's get back to what blades do I use and how we do all that. Set up a couple projects for us to analyze. May 4th was just a couple days ago, and then Mortal Kombat is out. I haven't seen it yet. This is the blade that I use 99% of the time, really. I just set a bunch of these up here for like the thumbnail, but I just use these. I buy a 50 pack like once a year, and whenever I actually cut, I'd say probably I snap a blade every couple of hours of cutting and whatnot. But since sometimes I don't snap one for a week or two. Go into these blades and the differences of them and so forth. How it started is the first jigsaw that I had a blade that was bent like that, and I made a little Viking boat out of it because I couldn't find any barbecue holders that I liked. And then that blade either snapped or something, or maybe I went to Home Depot and got fancy. And so my second purchase of, actually my first jigsaw purchase ever, was this multi-pack of Bosch. Let's see if we can focus here. There you go. And so it says for wood, and it had like a bunch of different blades over here, and so over time I snapped most of them, but I experimented with them. I don't really know what they're for. I know some of these jump pretty bad, and so I don't really hardly use these. The big ones are okay, so a lot of times just try it on a piece of plywood, and there's different types of plywood. Like this one is, you can see, pretty flat, and this one has the texture to it. And let's go check my scrap pile over here. So I got a bunch of like different plywoods here, ranging from like this kind of, let's pull this guy out. I can tell you right now that this board wouldn't cut too well. It's very dry and it will splinter a lot and break off a lot. I also know it because I tried cutting stuff out of it recently. Then I got like these strips of 1/2-inch thick board, cuts very well, really cool white pattern on it, or rather wood grain pattern. And so I tried cutting this to make my surrounds for the bathroom mirrors. Apparently I suck at practical application of things. So it was not Voltbo approved. I can do this really easy, but I can't do useful stuff apparently. And I even honestly have some random stuff which is like for sale stuff that I saw around my gym. We got a new leasing company now from where my gym is located, and so these were just being kind of discarded behind the warehouse. So I grabbed them just to see if they'll cut. And this is like an aluminum with plastic sandwich in between. And I actually considered even cutting my splitter out of that material, but even the wood jigsaw blades, I tested it a little bit, and so it cuts really well. So I actually want to do a couple projects out of it, but I haven't decided what exactly yet. But it's really light, really cool, very easy to cut, and very clean kind of material. So we'll do a, for lease sign turned into something cool, like super badge would be cool, but I've done that already. So anyways, back to the blades. With these new blades, these two blades came with the new jigsaw, so I just fit them in here and pulled a couple little guys out. But it's a really nice handy thing. I just pack these in, it's really nice, and then it's a bunch of stuff. So this way sometimes you don't need to use circular saws or random cuts. It's nice and handy. You just pack these two and you're off to the races. Or if you have your projector, you can pretty much go and cut stuff anywhere you want. Very compact. So if you're just starting out, I would just buy one of these bad boys and kind of play around, cut with all of them on random projects and see what you like. So I think here, I probably cut the big circle out with the bigger cuts, because it's a little bit easier to control it. Like it doesn't cut it, it doesn't turn quite as easily when the jigsaw blade is wider. So, but it can't do sharp turns. And then the small cuts, you pretty much, in all the videos, you hardly ever see me use this. I pretty much always use that. A lot less tear out, so you won't have like chunks breaking off, and you can see like right here, I think, no, that's not it, but like right here, you can see it's kind of, it might have been just damage in the wood, but chances are it probably was like a tear out as I was making the turn. And so the little jigsaw blade can easily make these turns. This kind of stuff, you come in and then you come from a different angle. You can see where the kind of angles connect. That might be a tear out. But again, one thing you can see improvement over time, like my lines are a little bit more even now. You can kind of see where this thing weaves in and out. Because again, was my like fourth, fifth maybe project jigsawing. So same thing with this helmet. This helmet, the whole thing was cut with a small blade. I'm not even gonna guess that I used the big blade for anything. I pretty much predominantly just use little guys, and so once you break all the little ones, just order a 50 pack and they'll last you for, you know, a couple of years supply, probably depending on how much stuff you cut. One thing I want to talk about too here is what kind of turns the jigsaw can make. As you get a little bit better, at first you'll start doing like this kind of turn with a small blade, or even, you know, like just bigger curves like that. And then as you get more comfortable, like you'll make this turn with the same jigsaw blade. Like this little blade can easily go here, and then when you're making a turn, you kind of pull the jigsaw. You don't push it in and let it run away from you. What happens is that as you make a turn, you're almost trying to pull it back, and the jigsaw will kind of try to fight its way in, and so you can make a tighter turn. And then stuff like this, the tighter ones, you just come in, cut in, and then come from the other side, boom, cut in here. So obviously this kind of stuff was you come in, and then I came in from here, and then came in there. But looking at like this eye right here, you can tell this one is a sharper connection. And then over here, I likely drilled a hole right here, started, and then went boom all the way through, cut it, and then came back from here and cut the little excess off. And let's see if we get any kind of tighter spots we can see from the back. So you can see on the back the connection, you can see a little bit of like, kind of the blade comes in, because it's not perfectly vertical, it's going to be leaning a little bit, so sometimes you get like a clean cut on the front, but on the back, or like here, on the back it'll go a little too much in. Yeah, I don't have anything, I think. Let's see if we can find some here. So we can see like it went over just a little bit, but we don't see that on the front. Or right here, and that's pretty normal, it's okay. On some project it goes a little bit too much and you can clean it up a little more, but generally it's not a big deal. But the trick is, like, I have one tutorial video which is like 30 minutes long, and it's really slow, so I didn't speed up any of the jigsaw actual cuts, and the whole video it's just in real time, so you can see kind of what kind of time it takes to actually make these nice cuts. And so just experiment with it, cut out some lines. So, you know, we're gonna grab like a scrap piece of plywood, and a really good logo to practice is like the Batman logo. So here I won't even try to cut the top off, but I can go something like this, you know, and I'm just drawing by memory, but you can just like look at your phone screen or something like that. I think it's something along the lines of like that. It doesn't have to be perfect, because this will be just for practice cuts, and then we can do also the older style one. Cut something along these lines, like these are nice and smooth cuts. You can start off kind of here and then cut in from here and go in, and you figure out also kind of where to start. So sometimes you might see me in the beginning of the video, like I'll go with my jigsaw with my hand, and I'll kind of look at the project and I'll go like try to kind of figure out, because like this one I'd probably start going in, boom, cut in right here, go over a little further, then go whoosh, cut in right here, cut in right here, cut in right there, go boom, and then go whoop, 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 whoop. And then here I would probably start like top, boom, 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 and then go overcut, overcut, and then come from this side, overcut, overcut. And it doesn't have to be like 100% perfect, but that's an easy way to start. You don't need to buy a projector for it or anything like this. And over time, you know, like the Volt Boy is pretty, I've seen people do it on the first try and they come out pretty good, because a lot of it is Dremel lines, and that's like doing a pen. You know, this is coming out as one of the next projects, but you know, I wouldn't start with letters. That's hard, genuinely. Like, I don't necessarily enjoy it to this day. Stuff like this where we got individual pieces and we're gonna come screwed from the background is a little tricky. But like the Mortal Kombat is actually surprisingly easy, and when I was first cutting it, I didn't think this would go. It was a piece of like large scrap plywood I had. It wasn't really good, and I thought like the ton would snap for sure and all this would snap for sure, and it held. And that was like where I realized, oh, I can actually make really, really complicated things out of it, which is, I wasn't expecting it. And so now here we are 5 years later, I'm cutting pretty cool stuff. Same thing here, like these letters are hard. But this one is pretty large, so this is 50 inches, and so something like that wouldn't be that hard to make. Something like this, which is obviously was a stencil, but something like this is actually not that hard to make because it's kind of a random pattern, and so we just kind of cut in, cut in, cut in, and if it's not perfect, easy enough. Cursive letters are fun to cut, and so cursive letters are much easier than the strict letters because the lines have to be pretty precise, whereas here you can kind of follow a gentle curve around and whatnot, so it's much easier to do. So this whole thing was cut with a small blade, the back end was cut with a small blade, small blade, small blade, everything was cut here with a small blade. I hardly ever use the bigger ones. And I think now that's about it, really. So hopefully that inspires you guys. If you make something, cut something, just, you know, chop up some stuff, send it to me, and I'll go enjoy the day. Great success, and I'll see you next time.